Good morning, everyone. Happy summer solstice. No.
Australian
not,
winter.
No. Yes, all of you tuning in from Australia, happy winter. And happy Father's Day. We'll start off with a song we haven't done in several months, but we've enjoyed singing this last year and a half. Love Will Guide My Way.
I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, and I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way.
The sun goes down, the sun comes up, the earth goes round, and I fill my cup with the goodness all around me. I know love will guide my way. Sing it with us.
I will greet the morning, and I will greet the day, and I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way.
Well, the money comes and the money goes. I count my blessings, bound my woes. The kindness all around me grows.
Love will guide my way. And I will greet the morning, and I will greet the day, and I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way. Through broken hearts and broken bones, by internet and mobile phones, through gentle talk and passionate tones, love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way.
Through times of fear and sadness, through times of joy and gladness, through apocalyptic madness, I know
love will guide my way. And I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way. So put your hands up to the rafters, sing and shout with laughter. 'Cause if it's hope you're after, I know love will guide my way. I will greet the morning, I will greet the day, I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way. We will greet the morning, we will greet the day, we will greet the evening. Love will guide the way. I will greet the evening. Love will guide my way. Through whatever else may happen, I know love will guide my way.
love will guide my way. And good morning to birthday boy Dennis Ryan.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, love has guided me up to the stage, and I say, good morning, friends and members of Unity Albany. Let us be quiet for a moment and begin this time of Sabbath in prayer. God is my source. Freely I give, and freely I receive. The Spirit of God, everywhere present, and the essence of everything, is the source of my abundant life. When thoughts of scarcity cloud my vision, I rise by giving freely in a state of gratitude. I appreciate the good I give and receive as I pray. The Christ in me is training my faculty of faith to detach itself from depending on outer conditions and helping it to focus on the presence and power of God. God is faith. I am faith. A hearty Unity Albany welcome to everyone, especially the newcomers. If you're here for the first time, relax with us in unity and enjoy the songs of praise. And an extra special Dennis Ryan welcome to the children. Hi, kids. Hi, hi, hiya. So, children, are you with me? Happy Father's Day. Today we celebrate the divine masculine as it manifests in our lives. Father's Day for me is the unofficial end of the black fly season in the Adirondacks. I'll be going there this afternoon. To absolutely everyone, happy, federally approved Juneteenth. Happy summer solstice. Are we coming to the end? And happy birthday to me, as they said. Now for our announcements, our weekly slideshow. The first slide will show my wife and I on Bryce Canyon. Oh, wrong slideshow. We will start with our affirmation for our new minister. Together, we affirm we are calling in and are ready to receive a wonderful minister who is heart-centered, wise, humorous, sincere, collaborative, and well-organized, and who openly walks a spiritual path of growth, deepening consciousness and love. Yes, and so it is. What's happening at Unity is our guest speaker today is Reverend Polly Dozier, for second week in a row.
Hi.
Hi, Reverend Polly. Welcome back to Albany.
Thank you.
Your virtual destination of the day. Reverend Polly has been involved in Unity leadership even longer than I've been involved in Unity. And that's all we're saying about birthdays today. Reverend Polly has worked in liaison with the Russian Communist government and Russian Orthodox Church, and she's currently living in Florida. Next week's speaker is Patricia Pierce. Some people here at Unity are reading Reverend Patricia's book, Beyond Jesus, My Spiritual Odyssey, and they're finding it an excellent read. Reverend Patricia, after a number of years in serving as a pastor, came to the realization that we're in a time of global change, turbulence, and uncertainty. Beneath the troubling headlines, an extraordinary thing is happening. A new consciousness is emerging on the planet. This consciousness is sometimes called unitive consciousness, Christ consciousness, or Buddha consciousness, holds great promise for humanity and for the earth. In this time of global transition, the old egoic story of separation is giving way to the realization that reality is an interconnected whole, the essence of which is love. The spiritual awakening will open the way for new systems to arise that reflect and honor the truth of oneness and support the flourishing of all life on the planet. On Sunday, July 11, we will have church in the park, paint mine area in Thatcher Park. 9:30 a.m. drum circle, 11 a.m. service, conducted by our very own Peggy Kaufman. We have regular weekly meetings on Zoom. On Monday at 7 p.m., the book group is studying Pema Chodron. Start where you are. You can drop in any time. You don't have to have prior read the book. There is heart-to-heart session on Tuesdays at noon. And on Thursdays, your chaplains host the prayer hour at 9 a.m. for prayer and fellowship. And we have a new fellowship group meeting on Friday evenings on Zoom. We'd like to get to know you, is what it's called. And it's all fellowship all the time. Speaking of fellowship, we enjoy fellowship at 11:30 a.m. today after the service. And we are a praying congregation. Prayer support is available from your chaplains by phoning the church and dialing extension 13, or use the email address, unitypraise@unityalbany.org. The daily word for Sunday, June 20, 2021 is Father's love. I give thanks for my father and all the expressions of fatherly love. I treasure my childhood memories of feeling safe when my father or a father figure in my life was nearby. I remember my father's encouragement as I was learning to ride a bike, as we explored the wonders of nature together, and as he taught me to use money wisely. Even when I made youthful mistakes, my father's sometimes stern but always wise judgment helped me find the way back to my right path. I give thanks for both the sacred human and the unfolding expression of God within my father and everyone who has blessed me with fatherly love. Today I pray for my father and for all fathers, affirming for each of them growing wisdom, understanding, and willingness to nurture others with a father's encouraging love. And from John chapter 15, verse 9, as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in love.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll continue with a very well-known hymn.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved and set me free. I once was lost, but
amazing Dennis is coming back on up.
Oh.
Welcome back. For you newcomers, we'll reveal ourselves to you, let you get to know each other better by revealing to you our vision for the world. A world transformed through the spiritual awakening of all. Our mission, we awaken to and embrace the divine essence of all beings through prayer and service in our community and in our world. And our core values, which are all based in the spiritual attribute of love, we are a spirit-centered community. We warmly welcome all. Now, I'm going to dwell on this next bullet because it's Juneteenth +1. We embrace diversity and inclusion. It's not enough for me to welcome marginalized people to my community. It's necessary for me to include them as members, to invite them to serve on committees with me, and to embrace them in the spirit of oneness. We walk our talk with integrity. We are compassionate. We are joyful. We practice sacred service, and we claim spiritual abundance. Please join in with me and celebrate our statement of oneness. The power of Christ's love now releases me from any sense of separation from spirit or others. There is only one presence and one power in my life and in the universe, the all-loving goodness of God.
Thank you, Dennis. We're going to sing this little chant, The Father and I Are One, and we'll have some slides from some of you for Father's Day. Here we go. The
Father and I are one. The Father and I are one.
Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I
are one.
The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. There's Dennis. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. Great. Happy Father's Day again. And we now welcome back Reverend Polly Dozier.
Thank you. Well, I just want to add my congratulations. There's one more holiday. It's World Refugee Day,
Wow.
which is a wonderful day to remember and honor people who have sometimes had just dreadful experiences trying to get to a safe place. So we bless them. And I just want to say virtual hugs to all fathers. Fathers are so important to us. So June 19th, well, I've got a story for that one that sort of fits that holiday. So let me tell that story. That story concerns, and by the way, this comes to me from a Unity minister. It concerns a very frail Black lady in South Africa. And I'll just take you to the point where she's standing in a room facing several official police people and a man named Mr. Oh dear, I've lost his name. Vanderbroek. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, Mr. Vanderbroek was guilty of murdering her son and her husband. And he'd been found guilty, and they were just about to charge him and see where that would go. And just to let you in on the story, this man a number of years ago had come to her home with some of his friends, and they had taken her son out in front of the little house and shot him point blank. And then they did the outrageous thing of burning his body. And so, as if that wasn't quite enough, thank you, they came back at a later date and they took her husband. And she didn't see him for about 2 years. She looked everywhere for him. And they came back finally, and they took her. And they took her down to the river, where she found they had her husband still alive, but beaten and tied up on top of some wood. And so the last thing she heard her husband say before they poured gasoline on him and set him aflame was, "Father, forgive them." Quite a story. Well, this lady, of course, was standing there, and the judge, the officiant acting as judge, asked her, he said, "So what do we do with this man? What do you want? How should justice be served here today?" And so this little lady said, "Well, I want 3 things. First of all, I want to be taken to the place where my husband's body was burned and gather up some ashes so he could have a proper burial." And then she continued and she said, "Number 2, my husband and my son were my only family. And I want, therefore, Mr. Vanderbroek to become my son." Can you imagine? Well, that's what she said. And she said, "I would like for Mr. Vanderbroek to come to my house twice a month and to spend a day with me so I can pour out on him all the love that I have left." And finally, she said, "I want a 3rd thing. I would like Mr. Vanderbroek to know that I really do forgive him, because Jesus died to forgive." And this was also the wish of my husband. And so I would kindly ask that someone come and assist me so that I can walk across the room to Mr. Vanderbroek and give him a real hug so that he will know for sure that I do forgive him And so as the court officiants came across the room and began to take her up to Mr. Vanderbroek, Mr. Vanderbroek fainted. Well, you can hardly blame him. He was so overwhelmed by what he heard, so shocked, I'm sure. But what's interesting is that without saying a word or hardly rustling in their seats, the people that were all there gathered to witness this, her family, her friends, her relatives, her neighbors, they all quietly stood up and they started singing the song that you just heard from your musicians. They started singing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was blind, but now I see. Well, this is such a story, such an incredible demonstration, I think, of the healing consciousness. Certainly that little being, that little lady, understood what Jesus was talking about. She forgave. And of course, this morning, I want to talk with you about forgiveness and the kingdom of heaven, which are both the main topics of Jesus' ministry. So I want to talk about some things that I'm pretty sure you've heard before, but maybe when you visit them with new, fresh eyes, you can experience more of the profound message that they give. So in his book, The Power Game, it's a book written a long time ago by a man named Robert de Ropp. And he says that within the psyche of man, in other words, within the consciousness of man, are secret rooms. And what is there are chambers that are filled full of treasures, with windows looking out on eternity. And so these rooms are there, but he says man does not enter them, only rarely. And these rooms are locked because man has lost the key. He lives habitually in the lowest part of this palace that he's been given, in the dreariest part. And the story of the myth of the Mad King, that's what this is all about, that de Ropp is telling us. It's a concept of man's psyche, which is it's a myth that's very ancient, and it's repeated with other variations that you're probably familiar with. The story of Nebuchadnezzar leaving and going into the fields to eat grass with the beasts. And then there's Plato's story of prisoners in the cave. And the New Testament story, of course, of the prodigal son. So in the myth of the Mad King, man is compared to a king with a sumptuous palace at his command, and the king goes mad and insists on living in the cellar, as we just said, with old discarded items. And he still thinks that this is, however, this dark place down below is his kingdom. And so if anybody tries to remind him about the treasures above and the beauty above him, he just reproaches that individual and insists that he's in his palace and that's where he belongs. And, he's in complete denial, delusion, and just sees this dark place as his palace. And so we interpret de Ropp's myth of the Mad King to mean, of course, that most people, many people, maybe most people, do the same thing. They have been given a palace, but they don't know it. And they insist on living in a lower part of their consciousness. They have a healing consciousness, which is really the kingdom of heaven. So when we are in that kingdom of heaven consciousness, which is joy and love and bliss and light and beauty, we're in one of those secret rooms in our palace, our inner palace. But when we're not happy, when we're not in joy, not in peace, not in love, we're probably in one of those lower rooms in the cellar. And so, we've often experienced the reality of this ourselves. We understand what it's like to be in one of those dark places, one of those cellars. We go there once in a while, at least. And I want to share with you words from Jesus, which are taken from the 6th chapter of Matthew, which have a lot to do with all of this, because it seems as though Jesus was pointing out the doctrine of the secret place, the place in the higher reaches of our kingdom of heaven consciousness, our inner palace, so to speak. He was trying to show us the way, of course, all the time, and the truth that this place, this part of us, is the core command center of our being. This is where we have our power. And he gives us many spiritual helps in this teaching and wants us to wind our way up the steps, to be there all the time. And so we're talking about the healing consciousness, which really is the kingdom of heaven consciousness. And in the first part, in chapter 6, we find verses 6 and 7 giving us these words. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to the Father in secret. And thy Father, which seeth thee in secret, shall reward thee openly. And when ye pray, Jesus says, by the way, use not vain repetition as the heathen do, for they think they shall be heard for their much speaking. And so life goes along, successes come, successes go, friends come, friends leave. Again and again, through all the experiences of our life, we are thrown back against our soul until we come back to this inner palace and to the upper rooms of this palace, until we learn consistently that it is that place of the higher self, or the inner Christ, or the Father within, or the upper room, where we get our help and our sustenance, and where we belong. The indwelling spiritual presence is always there to meet us, to greet us, and to help us. And it lives in this secret place, in the upper reaches of our palatial circumstance consciousness. And this Father that seeth shall reward thee openly. Here we have a suggestion of the law of cause and effect. And of course, Jesus is quite fond of dropping that into the scriptures quite often. And our prayers are made to spirit. in this secret place of our own being. They're not to be shouted aloud. And of course, Jesus says, talks about the hypocrites who stand in the synagogue praying to the people on the streets. And we have a lot of folks like that today, don't we? We can think of them right off. But we've got to realize that nothing really can compare. Oh, pardon me. Nothing can compare to the beauty and the power and the sacredness of our inner place, our inner secret place. And so as we move further into the chapter, we are realizing that it's an unconditional faith that we are striving toward, and a reliance on this inner presence totally and completely. And he gives us the key to the door to the upper realm of consciousness that man has locked away for so long. And Jesus says, we must enter that closet, shut the door, and pray in secret. Well, really, of course, we understand it's a private matter, but it's much more than that. When he says shut the door, he's talking about letting go of any stress or tension, letting go of any anxiety or latent anger or distress, resentment, bitterness, worry, fear, all of those things. Shut the door on all those things. And then we are privy to the beautiful gems, the riches, the gold of the secret place of the higher consciousness. And so in order to get to the depths of that beautiful place within, you have to relax and let go. And Unity, of course, excels at knowing that. And I know that you excel too. Having knowledge of exercises, the how-tos of relaxing the body and the mind through breath and through other systems, those are just precious things to really perfect and use, because when we understand that they come first before we can really get to the secrets of spirit, then we have really let go and shut the door. And so it's all about releasing everything that's unlike God, moving into that still, quiet place. And that's something you really can do, is let go of all those negative emotions, the craziness of the monkey mind, the ego. As you practice, you will let go and rise above those things, move away from those things. This wonderful ability to release the negatives is so important in our life. It really reveals our prayer power when we can finally do that. And Jesus says we're to proceed without vain repetition, but with belief and acceptance. So we know that prayer itself is very simple and very direct. And we are in a state of receiving when we are in that secret place. That's how we know we're there, in part. And we are absolutely to be convinced that God indwells us and lives as us. That is the truth. And so we know that this divine essence of us can provide our all sufficiency, everything that we need, all that we need. And so in a true self, Jesus is proclaiming us a king of our own consciousness, a king. He is a kingmaker as he gives us the truths on the Sermon in the Mount. And so we are seeing ourselves differently whenever we are reminded of these truths, when we get these truths and live them. Jesus sees us as kings, queens. Jesus sees us as all potential, capable, able, amazing, perfect. So when we understand the power that we have inside ourselves, we are blessed, and we are the absolute monarch of our own life. You know, a kingdom, of course, is a form of government, and it's a form of government that we only have a few of those left in our world today. We think of democracy, or representative democracy right now, that we're striving to have. We think of despotic regimes, dictators. But in Jesus' day, it was a kingdom that he lived in. And a kingdom in his day had, the king had all power and all authority. And whatever he said goes. That's it. He's the ruler. And of course, in our monarchies today, that hardly exists. It's really for show. But in the kind of kingdom Jesus was talking about, we are told that there is unlimited power and authority for the king, and that's you, and that's me. There are stories in the Bible of wise and foolish monarchs. The Bible is trying to illustrate to us the successes and failures of the human, and how things come and go in our lives, and how we can reach that beautiful chamber within, how we can be successful in our lives and handle life successfully. And so we know that within us is a healing consciousness. We have that. We already have that. That is the absolute monarch in your life. And you make your own conditions. You make your health, or you destroy your health. You demonstrate prosperity in your life, or you demonstrate poverty, or that state in which you don't do so well. And so some conditions you pull into your life and some you repel. It all depends on your healing consciousness. And so, of course, what people who have not grown up in a Unity Sunday school may see themselves quite differently, see themselves as victims always, with no power, at the mercy of other people and conditions that they can't control. And so we suffer when we don't understand the reality of our healing consciousness and its spiritual nature and the purpose of the life that we're living. We've allowed ourselves to be deceived. And that's why Jesus said, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. For instance, if you think all the time about the COVID and the dangers of it and the possibility of death and dying and disease and so on and so forth, you're more likely to draw that into your life. And certainly I don't see that happening for you. I don't want that for you. It may undermine your health, in other words, your healing. And if you think about poverty in the stock market going up and down and up and down, and the difficulties of the economic situation in our country today as a result of the shutdown and so forth. If you dwell on the downside of all of that, even if you're one of these dear souls who's lost a lot, you're just going to stay there, possibly. You need to lift up and see that the fields of harvest are ready for you, even though you've had this difficult experience. So in other words, if you think about trouble, trouble tends to find you. If you think about people who are dishonest and difficult and so forth, you tend to draw them into your life. We attract what we focus on. We know that. And so rather than getting exactly what we're focusing on, usually it's a combined consciousness, a combination of all these things that tends to appear in our life. Emmett Fox pointed out that thinking about sickness or disease is only one of the factors, though, that produces disease in our lives, in the body. The other most important factor is the entertainment of negative emotions, destructive emotions. Today, as we mentioned last Sunday, many of the members of our medical community and our scientific community even are really recognizing the power of the healing consciousness. They're recognizing that the state of mind, the state of our heart, is what influences the health of our body. And so they're coming to realize that most of our inharmonies within are the result of negative, sustained emotions and negative sustained thoughts that we play or that are replayed in our mind again and again and again. And so we are reminded that whatever we dwell on, whatever the mind dwells on with intensity and strong emotion and repeats again and again and again, that's what we're likely to have coming into our affairs. Intensity and repetition are the keys in mental demonstration, in life demonstration. And of course, some of you might immediately say, oh, how could that be? I don't think that way. I don't feel those terrible emotions. And yet I've got this strange problem with my body, or my neighbor has got this really sad situation where her husband's left her, and all the other sad situations that we experience ourselves or see our neighbors experience. And what I have come to understand is that before we enter this place called Earth, we have a talk with the angels, and we decide on certain experiences that our soul needs for growth and for illumination. And so, as you know, you've heard stories of so many people who've had healings or demonstrations of good in their life that totally changed them as people because they evolved. They lifted their consciousness, so to speak. So, what this does, this story, I hope, it reminds us of the fact that we may need to make some policy changes in the administration of our palace, of our beautiful palace, our kingdom of heaven consciousness, or how we can approach it. And so we can do that whenever we want to. Wholeness comes into the mind, comes into the body, and helps us as we allow the Christ mind within to take control of our consciousness. We help the Christ mind to dominate within by practicing thought control and mastering our emotions. Emotions like worry and anxiety. We lift up with encouraging ideas and thoughts, inspiring thoughts, and those bring us to health and wealth and good times. We are courageous and accepting, tolerant and understanding, loving, forgiving, merciful, wise, creative, and imaginative with our thoughts. We carry a mental reminder with us at all times. In fact, I was going to suggest to you that you carry a little notebook with you for a period of time, maybe for the next 30 days, and jot down the emotions and the thoughts as they come and go in your kingdom of heaven consciousness, and decipher the patterns of thinking and feeling that you have, that you carry most often. But we want to today feel calm and blessed and free to change anything within ourselves, anything within our lives, as we know that the inner source is there always, with us, as us. A wonderful prayer thought I have is, I am poised and centered in the Christ mind, and nothing can disturb the calm depths of my soul. And so I just want to invite you now to close your eyes and turn within for our meditation time. And take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe in, just feel yourself relaxing, and give your body and your mind the direction to let go and relax and be at peace for these few moments, totally at peace. All my fear and worry just dissolve now as I breathe and let go. Nothing in the outer world or in my life can disturb the peace right now. At peace. I'd like for you to visualize yourself in a beautiful garden right now. Beautiful garden filled with your favorite things, your favorite flowers and trees. It's just expressive of the beautiful spring-like situations that we're experiencing. Beautiful green everywhere. And as you sit in this beautiful, quiet place, you're aware that there is something there, a form or shape, if you like, of an angel. Perhaps it's an archangel, or Jesus, or a special divine messenger. And he's bearing something. It's a gift for you. And as this being comes close to you, you see that it's got a robe, a beautiful white robe. And this being of light proceeds to gently place this robe around your shoulders. The wonderful feeling comes over you as this robe is placed upon you, because it's a robe of light, and it's a light that you've worked to attain, and it signifies your spiritual consciousness. It's a robe of blessing. It's a robe of grace. It's a robe of love. Love safely wrapped around you. A robe of infinite wisdom and love. And it reminds you, you feel your spiritual identity, your inner being, your inner Christ, this God part of you, the true part of you. You are the Christ called forth into this world. That is why you are here, and you remember that now. Realizing that your job is to see things as God would have you see them from the highest point of view. And you take this next moment of silence to just know the truth about something in your life that's happening. See the truth about it and in it. See it blessed in the silence. And gently coming back into prayer consciousness, we know that God is at work in your life right now to bring good on all levels, that the glory of God might be expressed. And we give thanks for this being true for us and for everyone on the prayer list here at the church, and for all people. We praise God that justice and liberty, truth, enlightenment, and goodness are manifested perfectly on our earth. That the presence of God, the presence of the light is everywhere, in everything, in everyone. And divine order and peace are now established on the earth. Thank you, God. Amen. So it is.
And thank you, Reverend Polly, once again for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us this morning. I hope one of these days down the road we can have you up here in Albany and in the room. That would be lovely.
Oh, I would love that.
Maybe on a nice snowy weekend in February.
I actually would love that.
Oh, good. Well.
I lived in Alaska for 8 years.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, we'll keep in touch with you and try to make that happen at some point.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be with you all. You are really a beautiful church. I got it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Many blessings on your way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to do a Mark Shepard song. Mark will be with us in 2 weeks on July 4th, offering some of his wisdom and music. And this is a song about healing. I have been healed on this honest rock. There's a bad note. Hang on a sec. Okay. I've been healed on this
honest rock. I've been healed on this honest rock. I've been healed on this honest rock. I am grateful just to be alive today.
And I've been broken, and I've been
Blessed, oh yes, I've been broken, and I've been blessed, oh yes, I've been broken, and I've been blessed, oh yes, I am grateful just to be alive today. If you chance to glance upon the face of God, why would you ever look away? And if you chance to glance upon the face of God, why would you ever look away? Why would you ever look away?
I've been walking through the valley of the
Shadows, I've been walking through the valley of the shadows. I've been walking through the valley of the shadows. I am grateful just to be alive today.
And I've been raised up from all of my
Failures,
I've been
raised up from all of my failures. I've been raised up from all of my failures. I am grateful just to be alive today. If you chance to glance upon the face of God, why would you ever look away? And if you chance to glance upon the face of God, why would you ever look away? Why would you ever look away?
and I've been healed
On this honest rock, I've been healed. On this honest rock, I've been healed. On this honest rock, I am grateful just to be alive today. I am grateful just to be alive today. I am grateful just to be alive today.
I need a deep breath after that song. And we are grateful at Unity Church in Albany for all of the abundant blessings coming to us in coin and time and talents. And so we're going to bless those offerings by saying our offertory statement together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. We are blessed to know that Spirit is our source. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And so it is. Amen. And it's also the time for our blessing for the youth. So bring to mind the youth in your world and the youth in all the world. And we have a blessing that we say to them, and then we wait in silence for them to say the same back to us. That blessing is God loves you and accepts you just the way you are, and I love you and accept you just the way you are. I behold the Christ you are. So we'll wait and hear that back to us. And so it is. And we end with our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I
am the light of the love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I am divine.
So a little bit different version of that. We tried out one version last week. Let us know how that feels to you. That one comes from some other Unity churches that use that, including Rochester, where our friends Tim and Debbie Sigrist have come from. They shared that with us. And we will do a little closing song proclaiming that victory is ours, that healing is ours. Here we go. Victory is mine.
Victory is mine. Victory is mine. Victory today is mine.
I told adversity.
I told adversity, get thee behind. Victory today is mine.
Joy is mine.
Joy is mine. Joy is mine. Joy today is mine.
I told sorrow.
I told sorrow, get thee behind. Joy today is mine.
Happiness is mine.
Happiness is mine. Happiness is mine. Happiness today is mine.
I told misery.
I told misery, get thee behind.
Happiness
Joy
today.
is mine.
Prosperity is mine.
Prosperity is mine. Prosperity is mine. Prosperity today is mine.
I told scarcity.
I told scarcity, get thee behind.
Prosperity today
is mine.
Victory is mine. And
Victory is mine. Victory is mine. Victory today is
I told
mine.
adversity.
I told adversity, get thee behind. Victory today is mine. Victory today is mine.
Hey, have a great week. Have a lovely Sunday, Father's Day, summer solstice. Blessings to everyone. See you next week.